Prayer. Our brothers remove the head covers, our sisters pray with the heads covered, and we face the east towards Jerusalem.
Heavenly Father Yahweh, most holy and true, sovereign and covenant Elohim, Rebbe Yishak Yaakov. Give you all thanks in Yeshua's mighty name for the Yahweh, for allowing us for the Yahweh to mikra together for the Yahweh, to hear your mighty word for. We ask the nourishment of your word for the Yahweh. Because we know, for the Yahweh, man is out here trying to destroy us in every which way he can, for the Yahweh. Because his father is the adversary of the devil, for the Yahweh. And he does not wish to follow you, for the Yahweh. But we know that you are true. And you are, Father, our Redeemer. And we give thanks and praise in Yeshua's mighty name, for calling us, for the Yahweh, to hear your holy and mighty word, Father. So we pray for the Yahweh and embed itself in our hearts for the Yahweh. So I pray for to keep ourselves from marrying before the Yahweh to receive your word. And not to be hearers of the word, but doers of the word for the Yahweh. So we ask for the Yahweh to understand your truth for the Yahweh. Because we know, for the Yahweh, you give nothing but truth for the Yahweh. You will be nourishment to us, Father. So we ask, allow us to understand what you want us to understand, Father, as we walk this path. So we ask, Father, that our brothers, Father, are giving your word for the Yahweh to do your will for the Yahweh, that we may hear your word for the Yahweh, so we be nourished by your word for the Yahweh. We give you thanks and praise for this for the Yahweh, because you want to do what you want us to do for your will for the Yahweh. And I pray, Father, that your word go to the four corners of earth for the Yahweh, to touch all for the Yahweh, to may hear your word, for to do your word, Father, that they may nourish and touch, Father, by your power. Praise you, Father, in Yeshua's holy and mighty name. Amen.
Amen. All right, Shabbat Shalom. My name is Yedan Yashua, my brother Yanti Yashua. Shabbat Shalom. And the title of today's Shabbat study is Rejoicing in YAH. Rejoicing in YAH. And we look at the condition of our people today. Even though we are one of the richest countries in the world as far as the people, we have some of the highest rates of mental illness and depression and just a lack of spiritual and mental well-being. A lot of that has to do with, how we treat our temples, how we eat and exercise and things of that nature. But this also has to do with the system, the way things are set up, the way that we are taught to validate our lives based on material things. And a lot of us were institutionalized and believing a certain way about the country and about the system, about our schools, about our parents, our religions, things of that nature. And then when we find out that we've been lied to, it puts us in a very lowered state. So throughout all this, throughout the anguish and tribulation that we got to deal with from our own actions, we also have to deal with the system and society in a whole and how things affect us. And when we come into this word, you know, some of us are not being prepared. They're being told that, you know, you come in the word, everything is just going to be all great. And, you know, you're keeping the commandments now, so everything's just going to work out. But then, you know, we're not being told that, listen, it rains on the just and the unjust. You know, we read about all the patriarchs and all the examples we have in this book. It wasn't an easy route for them. You know, they had to persevere through suffering and tribulation. So throughout all that, you didn't see, you know, a lot of these people as our examples.
She said there's a filter on the, like a Facebook filter.
A filter?
Like, it got like masks on us, like one of them.
We got we got one of them.
Yeah, little Snapchat
filter things or whatever. Oh, wow. That's crazy. You look like the Purge right now. Man. Bro, come over here real quick. You just gotta see this. You just gotta see this. Hold on. You couldn't see it. I hope it does it to me. I'm sorry, y'all. Facebook messing with us right now. Is it on me?
Wow. Why they did that?
It's the Purge right now. This is how they messing with us. Wow. Okay. Bear with us, Facebook. We gonna try to get this thing together.
Wow.
I think it's that thing. Yeah. But how do we get it off?
Okay.
Wow.
All right. Go ahead and sit down and see the viewership went up once they seen that.
And the flash, turn the flash is on.
The what?
Flash.
We need the light.
Did you see it?
So once out.
Faces.
It should be fine now.
Okay. All right.
A little sabbatical.
All right. You know, a little bit of
like characters.
a lot of rejoicing in YAH again. So paraphrase where we were at. The bottom line is it rains on the just and the unjust. The things that go on in our lives, we're going to have to find a way to still samak, to still rejoice, to still be happy in our lives, and understanding that all things work for the glory of the Most High. So we have to live our lives in a certain manner with a certain expectation as well, that we're living for the latter end. We're not living for what we're going through right now in the exact situation or issue that we're dealing with right now. So let's open up in Habakkuk chapter 3. And Shabbat Shalom, Brother Melvin. Shabbat Shalom, Brother Brandon Pierce. Shabbat Shalom, Ariel Smith. And Shabbat Shalom, Sister Terry, who's sitting right across the room. Interesting, though.
Habakkuk chapter 3.
Habakkuk chapter 3. Habakkuk.
It's a little bit before Zechariah and Matthew. Yeah.
Yeah, that's Habakkuk is before Nehemiah. Before Nahum. It's before. It's after Nahum. It's before Zephaniah, Haggai, Zechariah, Malachi. So. It's one of the minor prophets. So we're going to Habakkuk chapter 3, and we're going to start this at verse 1. That's crazy. You put them filters on. You know, it could be somebody up here streaming, acting like they us, so you wouldn't even know.
Wouldn't even know.
Yeah, you don't have to keep the commandments.
Nah.
You know, forget about the Shabbat.
They
be setting
actually,
us up.
They actually have that. They had like computer-generated version of Obama, and it was very hard to tell the difference between the real one and the fake one.
Man, they had a Tupac concert, man.
Yeah.
These holograms ain't no joke. And, you know, that's why I don't use Snapchat and all those different things. It's too late now. Now they got the whole facial recognition, but that's also why they tell you to take off your hats when you take your driver's license pictures, because the technology at the time is probably advanced now, but at the time the technology uses polygons in your face to get your facial recognition, so that, you know, the drone that flies over can recognize your face when they want to blow you up. So, but when you have on a head covering, it throws off the polygons, so they can't get a true recognition of your face. And this is why they want you to take off your head coverings. And that's the reason why they have Snapchat and all those things with those filters on your face to make all that, because they're taking your facial recognition. And when you sign up for Snapchat, then you have to agree to give them that. And we actually posted an article about that on Israelites Gathering, the Facebook page, that talked about that. The fact that, and this stuff you can Google, that you're consenting for them to record your facial recognition. What do they need to record that for? They could just use it to do whatever they do, but no, you're giving them consent to record it. So we're in Habakkuk chapter 3, and again, the title of today's Shabbat study is Rejoicing in YAH.
A prayer of Habakkuk the prophet upon Singionoth. O Yahweh, I have heard your speech and was afraid. O Yahweh, revive your work in the midst of the years. In the midst of the years, make known in wrath, remember mercy. Eloah came from Teman, and the Holy One from Mount Paran, Selah. His glory covered the heavens, and the earth was full of his praise. And his brightness was as the light. He had horns coming out of his hand, and there was the hiding of his power. Before him went the pestilence, and the coals went forth at his feet. He stood and measured the earth. He beheld and drove asunder the nations. And the everlasting mountains were scattered. The perpetual hills did bow. His ways are everlasting. I saw the tents of Cushan in affliction, and the curtains of the land of Midian did tremble. Was Yahweh displeased against the rivers? Was your anger against the rivers? Was your wrath against the sea, that you did ride upon your horses and your chariots of salvation? Your bow was made quite naked, according to the oaths of the tribes, even your word, Selah. You did cleave the earth with rivers. The mountains saw you and trembled. The overflowing of the water passed by. The deep uttered his voice and lifted up his hands on high. The sun and moon stood still in their habitation. At the light of your arrows they went, and at the shining of your glittering spear. You did march through the land in indignation. You did thresh the heathen in anger. You went forth for the salvation of your people, even for the salvation of your anointed. You wounded the head out of the house of the wicked, by discovering the foundation unto the neck. You did strike through with his staves the head of his villages. They came out as a whirlwind to scatter me. Their rejoicing was to devour the poor secretly. You did walk through the sea with your horses, through the heap of great waters. When I heard, my belly trembled, my lips quivered at your voice. The voice, rottenness entered into my bones, and I trembled in myself, that I might rest in the day of trouble. When he comes up unto the people, he will invade them with his troops. Although the fig tree shall not blossom, neither shall fruit be in the vines, the labor of the olive shall fail, and the fields shall yield no meat. The flock shall be cut off from the fold, and there shall be no herd in the stalls. Yet I will rejoice in Yahweh. I will joy in the Elohim of my salvation.
So despite the things that are going to happen around us, because again, we have to be put in that position for him to show his might. So there's going to be times where it's going to look like we're not going to make it out of a situation, or we're coming up a great enemy or force or whatever the case may be. We have to also remember, well, who created all this stuff? Who ordained all these things? Nothing can happen to any one of us without the consent of the Most High. He either through his divine will makes something happen, or through his permissive will allows something to happen. So we have to always understand, well, how does Yah get the glory out of a situation? So Habakkuk is saying, despite, the things that they're going through, but also the victory that's going to come out of it, either way, he's going to rejoice in Yahweh and find his joy in Yahweh, the Elohim of his salvation. Go ahead, finish that up.
Verse 19, Yahweh my sovereign is my strength, and he will make my feet like hinds' feet. He will make me to walk upon my high places, to the chief singer on my stringed instruments.
All right, so let's rejoice in Yah. Let's go to Proverbs chapter 29. Mishlei chapter 29. And you can see why there's really not too much rejoicing going on in the country. When you turn on the news, it's nothing but bad news. That's pretty much what they should call it, bad news. They shouldn't even call it news. It's to keep you in a depressed state, to keep you in fear, to keep you bottled up inside, not exploring the world, not going to see how other countries are and how other lands are, so you can't weigh the difference of wickedness in this country and other places that we go. We're at Proverbs, Mishlei, chapter 29, and we're going to start this at verse 1. And Shabbat Shalom, Brother William Long.
He that being often reproved hardens his neck shall suddenly be destroyed, and that without remedy. When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice, but when the wicked bear rule, the people mourn.
So if you're the individual that you can't have somebody tell you something, you automatically harden your neck because you don't like nobody to tell you something. It says this person is going to be suddenly destroyed without remedy, because the Most High is only going to give you so many opportunities where he's going to keep trying to direct your path. But he gave us free will. So at some point, he has to say, okay, I'm enforcing my will on this person. I'm trying to make this person walk in righteousness. They don't want to walk in righteousness. If I want to make you walk in righteousness, I can do that. The Most High can force that. But he gave us free will. So we don't want to be in a position. I know I'm like that. I don't like people telling me what to do. But at the end of the day, if somebody's telling me to do righteousness, that's something you're just going to have to submit to. And say, if you walking to the left and you're supposed to be walking to the right, it don't matter who tell you that. Yeah, the physical person might be telling you that, but that's instruction from the Most High. If it's righteousness, if it's the Holy Spirit, the Spirit of truth. So who are you really hardening your neck against? Are you really hardening it against the person because they coming against you? Or are you hardening your neck against the Most High because you can't hear his voice? Go ahead.
Verse 3. Whoso loves wisdom rejoices his father, but he that keeps company with harlots spends his substance. The king by judgment establishes the land, but he that receives gifts overthrows it. A man that flatters his neighbor spreads a net for his feet. In the transgression of an evil man there is a snare, but the righteous does sing and rejoice.
And the righteous does sing and rejoice because it doesn't matter what kind of reward or what kind of danger is going to come out of walking in a transgression. They're going to rejoice because they have faith. They believe in the Most High. They know that, listen, if I walk this narrow path, it's going to be well with me in the end. So I can rejoice in my heart. I can have joy no matter what situation I'm in. Look at Yosef. When Yosef was in that position where, Pharaoh's wife wanted to sleep with him, he had to make the right decision. He ended up going to jail. But he couldn't be all down in his heart and just give up on righteousness. He continued and carried his righteous acts through while he was in the jail, in the dungeon under the king's house. And he ended up being elevated to being one of the highest ranking people in Egypt. Go ahead.
Verse 7. The righteous considers the cause of the poor, but the wicked regards not to know it. Scornful men bring a city into a snare, but wise men turn away wrath.
And verse 7 is when you see that poor person walking up to your window, getting ready to ask you for money. They haven't even come to your window. They just walking with a sign. And you put your eyes down, or you look the other direction, or you roll your window up, you cut your music up, or you harden your face so that he doesn't want to ask you something. That's what the wicked do. They're not even considering the cause of the poor. But the righteous has to consider that. I'm going to err on the side of mercy. This guy could be taking this money to go buy crack. I don't know it. I'm not standing next to him, but he's obviously in a condescended state. If I got a couple dollars in my pocket, guess what? I'm giving him the opportunity to eat, and I'm not going to just give him $1. If I have $5, you know how much food costs to eat? Yep. At least get a man enough money to buy some food, at least something off the dollar menu. You giving him 50 cents because you don't want to give him none of your big bills.
Do all things to the glory of
if I'm driving and you know, anybody with me will testify, if I see the poor and I got money in my pocket, if I got a 20 and that's all I got, guess what? The Most High blessed you. That's what you get. You get a 20. If I don't got nothing, that's when you really see me be upset, because I should never have been in that position where I'm out, especially if I got money in the bank. If I'm broke, then it wasn't your day. But if I have money and I'm going downtown to hang out with my family or do this or do whatever, I know I'm going to be encountered by homeless people or people that need money. Why did I not have myself available? Why did I not regard the cause of the poor? Go ahead.
Verse 9. If a wise man contends with a foolish man, whether he rage or laugh, there is no rest. The bloodthirsty hate the upright, but the just seek his soul.
That's the difference. The bloodthirsty hate you because you walking in a way that is showing that how wicked they are. They don't want to acknowledge how wicked they are. But the righteous man is not going to judge that bloodthirsty man. He's going to seek his soul. He's going to say, hey, listen, brother, you know, this is not a good path. I understand why you're so angry. We angry too. But there's got to be a better way. This bloodshed is going to end up on your own household.
Verse 11. A fool utters all his mind, but a wise man keeps it in till afterwards. If a ruler hearken to lies, all his servants are wicked. The poor and the deceitful man meet together. Yahweh lightens both their eyes.
Excuse me, brother.
Mm-hmm.
Question. You go back to that verse 11.
Mm-hmm.
If you read that again, wouldn't you compare that to what people do on Facebook today?
Mm-hmm.
They put their whole lives on Facebook. I mean, they say a fool utters all his mind.
Mm-hmm.
And people don't realize that you're showing your whole mind, all your thoughts, all your emotions, all the things you do around your house, everything you do around your job, basically, on Facebook. People on Facebook don't care.
Right.
You're just entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but you ought to close your mouth and think about the situation that you're going through. Maybe if you close your mouth long enough, you can think about how to solve some of the problems.
Right.
You know, and I think that's an error that our people do, because we're so injured inside.
Right.
That we wind up using Facebook as a mouthpiece for our pain.
Right.
And don't realize that nobody's going to give you, or hardly no one is going to give you a solution to solve your problem. You know, when you should be looking at this book.
Right.
You know, so I want to bring it up because that just hits a loud bell. He said, a wise man keep it in until afterwards.
Right.
Because he thinks about it.
Right.
He tries to figure it out and solve it, even though it probably injures him inside sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't want everybody to know the problem. If he can solve the problem, go before his father. Now, if you have somebody you can trust,
Mm-hmm.
let's talk about it.
Right.
You know, because you know the person that's trying to injure you will help. They will help you find a solution.
Right.
And if they're in the word, they're going by what the word says.
Right. And you know, and that was the whole introduction to Facebook. If you look at how it was started, and even Zuckerberg and what his real name is and who he's related to, you'll see that this is CIA related. This basically created social media, Twitter, Instagram, all this stuff was created to snitch. Snitch on yourself. And they reward you by snitching, by when you say certain things to embarrass yourself or embarrass another person or down talk somebody, then that gets your likes up. It gets exposed. If they want to get your likes up, all they got to do is expose it to enough people. And they got algorithms. Oh, this person don't like men because they've been hurt by men. Okay, this person just did the same post. Let's post on their page so we know we're going to get an instant like there, which is going to increase. So they're playing as mathematics. They're playing. That's how you can pay Facebook to put your stuff up, and it'll reach the people that it needs to reach. It'll reach the people that it needs to reach because they know who's looking at what. So when we put our business out there, especially being servants of the Most High, you're a regular person and you're just affecting yourself. But when you are identifying yourself as the servants of the Most High and you're out here just unfiltered, just, if I was to talk and say half the stupidness that comes into my mind, people wouldn't even want to listen to me. They'd be like, how am I going to sit here and listen to you about this word and you out here saying this foolishness? And this stuff is coming in my mind. And this is a mind that's been renewed and changed and in the process.
That's right.
So they're taking advantage of that. So with us, being the children of Yasharal, we got to be careful with the stuff that we put out there, because it affects people. And at the end of the day, new people who are looking to identify with something, to find their identity, because that's the problem with the children of transcontinental slave trade. We have no identity. So we grab on whatever was been presented to us. So this is an opportunity to grab on your true culture and be able to prove it. And now you look at this Israelite guy over here cussing out women, talking about, women is this or women is that, or, because of some woman that did something to him. Right. Not talking about what he did, because it's biased too. He's just expressing his pain. And the thing is, well, why are we doing that? We're doing that because we want attention. Well, that's the wrong type of attention, to put your dirty laundry out there. Now, if you present it in a forum where there could be some education, where there could be some growth, where you're tying it with scripture and you're learning from your mistakes, then now that's beneficial to somebody. But if you're just making us look bad as a nation, making us look bad as a people, especially in your emotion, when you're in your emotion, that ain't the time to get on to speak out loud or videotape yourself. Next thing you know, you like Tyrese up there. Yeah. Man, I felt this pain, but man, you look mad stupid up there. Thank you. But that's real pain that fathers, especially black fathers, are going through in this country. So I get it. But you done made yourself look like a fool because of emotions. And now you can't take that back. Once that's in the cyberspace, in the cloud, that's there forever. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 14. Proverbs chapter 29 and verse 14. The king that faithfully judges the poor, his throne shall be established forever. The rod and reproof give wisdom, but a child left to himself brings his mother to shame.
And this is why we have to rejoice in Yah, because when you are being chastened, that shows that Yah loves you. He's not letting you, a child, to just run out and do whatever until he get himself killed. The rod is for reproof. That's to show you what you're doing is not working. If you are doing something right, the Most High is not going to punish you for it. He's going to encourage you. It's just like us as natural parents. We're not going to punish our children for doing the right thing. We're going to encourage that because that's what we want. Go ahead.
Verse 16. When the wicked are multiplied, transgression increases, but the righteous shall see their fall. Correct your son, and he shall give you rest. Yea, he shall give delight unto your soul. Where there is no vision, the people perish, but he that keeps the law, happy is he. A servant will not be corrected by words, for though he understand, he will not answer. See you a man that is hasty in his words? There is more hope of a fool than of him.
Let's look at verse 19. Let's examine that one. A servant will not be corrected by words, for though he understand, he will not answer. Let's get some other takes on that.
All right, so 29:19. Let's see what the Septuagint version says. It says, a stubborn servant will not be reproved by words, for even if he understands, still he will not obey. So that stubbornness. And
what Hebrew word is that for stubborn?
Let's go to it. KJV.
And also witchcraft.
Well, stubborn is a Septuagint version. I can only look up the Strongs for the King James version. So Septuagint version, I have to look at what Greek they have there.
Did they have the Greek? What was the Greek word?
Nah, not on eSword. I don't have that capability.
Oh, you have because on eSword.
Or my sword.
All right, so that's what, Proverbs 19. Well, 29 and verse 19. Because I'm wondering where the word stubborn came from.
That's just a Septuagint version.
All right, so let's look at the one that we can precept with the Hebrew, at least what we have right now. A servant, ebed, a bondman, will not be corrected, yasar, chastised by words. Debar. For though he understand, he will not answer. So what do you take from that statement?
Well, the translation here is a bit vague. So whenever especially Proverbs, whenever I come across a vague translation or a vague expression, I'll go to the Septuagint because they're like parallels. And then people would look at the word, like they have the same way we have King James Version, the Strong's version of the King James. They'll pretty much have like a Strong's for the Septuagint. So I'll be able to like look and see how that's rendered. So this one, servant will not be corrected by words, for though he understand, he will not answer. It's a bit vague, because I couldn't really get anything from that. So,
well, you can just look at what they're talking about here. Look at the verses before. Anytime you want to get understanding about a certain line, you got to look what is the conversation about before and what is about after. Sometimes you got to go in with certain ones, the chapter before. So it's talking about reproof. The rod and reproof give wisdom. The child left to himself. And then the wicked are multiplied, transgression increase, but the righteous shall see their fall. Correct your son, and you give. So you see what it's talking about here. So now when you get to here where it says, a servant will be corrected by words. In other words, you can't just sit here and just talk to somebody. There has to be some deeds behind it. Not only there has to be some kind of recompense. You can talk to your servant all you want, man. You don't do this. You better do this. Okay. He don't care. There's got to be some kind of either benefit to doing it right or a punishment for doing it wrong. And then also, when you're talking about, you're teaching somebody, you're telling your servant how to do something because you're in charge. So that means you supposedly know how to do it. Well, what are you doing? Are you doing it right? Are you following instructions? Are you handling things properly? So there's multiple ways, and that's kind of what I wanted to see, the different views on that one verse about a servant will not be corrected by words.
No, you have to show, and then they have their offense. I believe the same thing. If he won't be corrected, there's a reason why he won't be corrected.
Right.
Either he don't see you doing it, so if you spouting something and you're not doing it, well, you just like the Pharisees, you're a hypocrite.
Right.
But even though Yeshua said you follow what they say, because what he's saying is true, but then he won't do what he do because he's a hypocrite. He won't do it.
Right.
He won't change himself.
Right.
Even when he knows what's right to do, he won't change himself.
Right.
So why should the servant, follow what his master's not doing? But yet the servant has to follow due to the fact that there is a penalty if he does not follow.
Exactly.
You see? So he may follow it in motions, but is he truly following it in his heart? And this is how we get in trouble. Where Yeshua was talking about, I never knew you. Get away from me, you worker of iniquity, because you're doing it in outward appearance, but it was never in your heart. So my Father doesn't know you.
Right.
Because you does not belong to him. So I look at that also as a level of witchcraft, how far you can go. In other words, the rapper can go deeper than that, because you're doing it in witchcraft now, because you really just being rebellious toward the Father. You won't do it. But yet, I can understand where they want you to expound more deeply in it at that levels, because if you follow with somebody, you need to set a precedence.
Right.
You have to show you how to do it, why I'm doing it.
Right.
So yeah.
Do as I say, not as I do. That's a lot of stuff that our parents used to tell us growing up. Do as I say. But you look what you're doing. You telling me not to cuss. You walking around the whole house cussing.
Right.
So you tell me to do as you say, not do as you do. Now add the Septuagint version, the stubborn person, you can say it over and over. He not going to hear that. There's going to have to be some recompense. Yeah. Because we was a stubborn and stiff-necked people, and we didn't respond to anything until we got chastened. And that's where it goes to love. Don't be a child to himself. You're going to bring shame to your assembly, to your mother. The mother represents the assembly. You're going to bring shame. So you're going to have to receive chastening, and you're going to have to rejoice in that chastening when you receive that, because you're being led, you're being instructed the right way. Because he could have just said, left you, hey, does not the book say do this? You didn't do it, and you just died.
There's another part to this too.
That's how it could have been, because you can say, look, all this stuff has been given to you. All these commandments are given to you. You've been told. You didn't do it. Lake of fire. But he loves us so much, and he's given us the example here of how we're supposed to be, that he's chastening us, that he's correcting us. But we take that correction and we turn it into not a contrite and a humble spirit. No, we turn it into that child that when he gets spanked, I hate my mom, I hate my dad, you know, pounding, go, they just hate me. Bro, you done tore up the whole house. What was the other understanding you had, Elder?
Other understanding is, you know, when you're dealing with these Pharisees and so forth like that, you know, and Yeshua said, do what they said, because the word, what they say in the law is true.
Right.
But
don't do as they do. Right.
What they're doing because they're not following it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in the servant's mind, you may say, well, why? I should just believe it's true if he ain't even doing it.
He don't even believe it.
Right, if he don't believe it, if he ain't doing it. But he's
right.
telling me I'm supposed to follow this.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? So that is like, you know, what verse 12 is right here said, you know, if a ruler hearkens to lies, all his servants are wicked.
Right.
So the servant may be thinking about, if you tell him this law, but you ain't even doing it, how good is it if you're not even doing it, you're supposed to be a ruler.
Mm-hmm.
So are you lying to me? Are these lies right here? So the servant, what recourse does he have? You teaching me to do this. Mm-hmm. I got a penalty if I don't do this, but yet you're not doing it. So why am I doing it? Because I'm afraid I'm going to get beaten. I'm not doing it because I believe in it. I'm afraid because that pain that you put before me, that whip you put before me, I'm going to bend my back to do it that way. Because I don't feel like bleeding today.
Right.
You know? So you can look at it many different ways. When you come back to it, it lies on the ambassador before the Most High.
Mm-hmm.
You're not supposed to just read the law. You're supposed to do the law.
Right.
Yes, we said it earlier in prayer. Do the law. And if you do the law, you see how Yahweh's recipe come to fruition.
Exactly.
You see how good it tastes. If you see how good it tastes, all the stuff that sorrow that you go through, you can rejoice because you know the Most High is real.
Right. Right. And that's one of the prime differences between knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. The knowledge of something ain't enough. Just so you know it, but you ain't never used it. You know how, okay, you aim, you pull, you cock the hammer, and you aim, and you line it up, and you shoot. You know the knowledge of how to shoot, but then you ain't never shot the gun. You don't know how to deal with the recoil. You don't know how to judge your own eyesight. You're closing one eye when you're shooting instead of shooting with both. Like you've never done it. So it's the same thing with righteousness. You have to physically do it so that you can gain the wisdom of when to apply and how to apply it, and then gain the understanding of how to depart from evil using it. So it's the same thing when you're giving words to your servant. He has to not only hear you tell them how to do something, he needs to be watching you. He needs to watch you to lead by example. And it's the same thing with the difference between our generation now, that with us coming into the word, raising our children, and the generation that was before us. They just told us stuff. And we just had to do it or we got whooped.
And that's what our children do. They watch you.
Period. But then I'm watching my parents do certain things. I'm like, wait a minute. You tell them, one perfect example. You tell them, you shall not lie. But then the phone ring, tell them I'm not here. So you telling me to lie. So it's okay to lie. Oh yeah, Santa Claus. Oh, I just lied to you, whatever. Really? So you mean you've been lying to me my whole life? Tooth fairy? So you telling me it's okay to lie if it make you feel good, or if it's for a good cause, or not to hurt somebody's feelings?
Don't lie to me.
Nah. But don't lie to me. No, you telling people, you teaching me to lie to you because you taught me how to lie.
That's right.
Like Rihanna said, I love the way you lie.
Wow.
Go ahead.
Proverbs 29 and verse
20.
See you a man that is hasty in his words? There is more hope of a fool than of him. He that delicately brings up his servant from a child shall have him become his son at the length. An angry man stirs up strife, and a furious man abounds in transgression.
And that's why we have to really focus on anger. I heard one of the sisters talking. Matter of fact, Sister Chanel was saying, I don't subscribe to that tribe stuff. But man, I just look at how Jamaicans are. We might be this or we might because of the anger. So, some of us have that anger issue, especially the Caribbeans. We got that anger issue. And that's a serious problem because that is going to stir up strife and you're going to abound in transgression, either by physically doing something or with your mouth. So that means that's something that we have to learn to be to be angry, but not sin. And part of doing that is just learning how to keep your mouth shut for a few minutes while you're angry. And that comes with time. That comes with correction, because you have been corrected so many times that eventually you learn. You've been chastened so many times that you learn that I know when I'm angry, I'm going to say something stupid that I'm going to regret later, and then I'm going to have to pay the penalty. And shalom, Sister Marshall, and shalom, Brother Yehuda Yisrael. Shabbat shalom, brothers and sisters.
Verse 23. A man's pride shall bring him low, but honor shall uphold the humble in spirit. Whoso is partner with a thief hates his own soul. He hears cursing and bewrays it not. The fear of man brings a snare, but whoso puts his trust in Yahweh shall be safe. Many seek the ruler's favor, but every man's judgment comes from Yahweh. An unjust man is an abomination to the just, and he that is upright in the way is an abomination to the wicked.
Light and dark cannot dwell together. This is why people will hate you. This is why the world will hate you. The world will hate you if you try to walk in righteousness, because you're an abomination to the wicked. And we shouldn't be all comfortable with hanging out with a bunch of people that want to do nothing but transgress the law, because what's that saying about you? Light and dark cannot dwell. That was one of the first laws created when the universe was created. All right, now if we look at this word for rejoice, rejoice, the Hebrew word is samak, which is H8055. Samak, spelled S-A-M-A-C-H. And that's a word we use a lot with the holy days, samak. And that is a primitive root to probably to brighten up. That is to be causally to make blithe, or gleesome, cheer up, be glad, make joy, be merry, cause to make to rejoice. So this is something that you have to do. You have to do it. It doesn't just happen. That's something that you have to do. You have to make that happen. It's the action of doing this. So this is what we want to do. When the righteous rule, the people rejoice. They're happy. All right, now let's move on. Let's go to Devarim chapter 26, and we're going to see what YAH tells us to rejoice in. Deuteronomy, Devarim chapter 26. And for some of the new people getting on, when you hear me say, or you hear Brother Jonathan say two different names when we're calling out the books, we're giving the Hebrew name of the book, and we're also giving the English translation name. And over a period of time, when you do this, you're going to know how to say all these books in Hebrew. I remember when we first started doing it several years back, I used to have the sheet. Yeah. You know, and I used to have to ask brothers and sisters with the sheet. No, I don't know this one.
I still need the sheet.
You know, but now, the majority of these books, especially the whole Torah, we good. But the majority of these books, we got it. And that's important, because this is all part about taking our culture back, taking our identity back. We did it in the streets. You know, we made an identity in the streets. We identify with a city or a state or a country of our original captivity, or you know, a slave name. Well, you know, them Williams. You better not mess with them Williams. You know, we'll take back anything, and it's in our nature, because we're the ones that didn't have an identity. So this is part, now you know who you are. It's time to take back, use that same emphasis that we use on trying to identify with the world. Let's use that same emphasis to identify with our culture. And when we do that, our behaviors are going to change.
Deuteronomy, Devarim, chapter 26 and verse 1. And it shall be, when you are come into the land which Yahweh your Elohim gives you for an inheritance, and possess it, and dwell therein, that you shall take of the first of all the fruit of the earth, which you shall bring of your land that Yahweh your Elohim gives you, and shall put it in a basket, and shall go into the place which Yahweh your Elohim shall choose to place his name there.
And where is the place that he chooses to put his name there?
Jerusalem.
Jerusalem, right? Jerusalem was the city that he forever has his eyes on, But when you go into Ezekiel, it also talks about a little sanctuary that he's providing. Wherever his people are, where 2 or 3 or more are gathered in his name, there he is in the midst. That means the angel's in the building, the Spirit is in the building, the Spirit of Yahshua is in the building. That is where he is placing his Shem, his character, his holiness. Go ahead.
Verse 3. And you shall go unto the priest that shall be in those days, and say unto him, I profess this day unto Yahweh your Elohim that I am come unto this country which Yahweh swore unto our fathers for to give us. And the priest shall take the basket out of your hand and set it down before the altar of Yahweh your Elohim. And you shall speak and say before Yahweh your Elohim, a Syrian ready to perish was my father, and he went down into Mitzrayim and sojourned there with a few, and became there a nation, great, mighty, and populous. And the Mitzrites evil entreated us, and afflicted us, and laid upon us hard bondage. And when we cried unto Yahweh Elohim of our fathers, Yahweh heard our voice, and looked on our affliction and our labor and our oppression. And Yahweh brought us forth out of Mitzrayim with a mighty hand, and with an outstretched arm, and with great terribleness, and with signs and with wonders. And he has brought us into this place, and has given us this land, even a land that flows with milk and honey. And now, behold, I have brought the first fruits of the land which you, O Yahweh, have given me. And you shall set it before Yahweh your Elohim, and worship before Yahweh your Elohim. And you shall rejoice in every good thing which Yahweh your Elohim has given you. And unto your house, you and the Levite and the stranger that is among you. And when you have made an end of tithing all the tithes of your increase the 3rd year, which is the year of tithing, and have given it unto the Levite, the stranger, the fatherless, and the widow, that they may eat within your gates and be filled.
All right, so verse 12 is something that you want to highlight when it comes to tithing. Several things there. For one, the year of tithing is the 3rd year. The 3rd year, and we dealt with 7-year cycles. So in the 3rd year is the year of tithing. And it was given unto the Levite, the stranger, the fatherless, and the widow, so that they may eat within the gates. That's what tithing was for. First of all, the best of what you have, the only reason you had this land is because Yahweh gave you that land. Because this was not where we are from. He just told you a Syrian came into Egypt, blah, 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 and then we ended up in Israel. So the year of tithing is the 3rd year. So I don't know what all this, collecting tithes every day stuff for. That's not according to this law. And then on top of that, where the tithing is going, it didn't all just go to the pastor so he can live in a mansion and live in a, fly a helicopter.
Nope.
If that was our welfare system, there was not supposed to be any poor people. And this is in addition to leaving the outside corners of your field. Or if you forgot a sheaf or some stuff, you just left it there. So whatever poor person that needed it. So this is also why, again, the righteous considers the cause of the poor. When you see the poor in the street, you reach in your pocket and you give them something, or you give them some food, or you do something in addition to talking to them about the Most High. It's not just giving them stuff. You also want to teach them how to fish too. Teach them how to approach unto his Father. So this is where this was supposed to go to. So there's no reason why we can't reach in our pockets and take care of the poor, because this is part of our tithe. Verse 13.
Then you shall say before Yahweh your Elohim, I have brought away the hallowed things out of my house, and also have given them unto the Levite, and unto the stranger, and to the fatherless, and the widow, according to all your commandments which you have commanded me. I have not transgressed your commandments, neither have I forgotten them. I have not eaten thereof in my mourning, neither have I taken away any thereof for any unclean use, nor given any thereof for the dead. But I have hearkened to the voice of Yahweh my Elohim, and have done according to all that you have commanded me. Look down from your holy habitation, from heaven, and bless your people, Yasharal, and the land which you have given us. as you swear unto our fathers, a land that flows with milk and honey. This day Yahweh your Elohim has commanded you to do these statutes and judgments. You shall therefore keep and do them with all your heart and with all your soul. You have avouched Yahweh this day to be your Elohim, and to walk in his ways, and to keep his statutes and his commandments and his judgments, and to hearken unto his voice. And Yahweh has avouched you this day to be his peculiar people, as he has promised you, and that you should keep all his commandments, and to make you high above all nations which he has made, in praise and in name and in honor, and that you may be an holy people unto Yahweh your Elohim, as he has spoken.
All right, let's move back. Let's go. Let's move to Proverbs, Mishlei, chapter 24. Let's move forward to Proverbs, Mishlei, chapter 24. So what we see often is another form of depression is when we're trying to get ahead, we're trying to attain these material things in our lives or some relief from the hard bondage that we're dealing with. And we look at the people that seem to not be struggling with the things we struggle, and we see a lot of evil people that are doing wicked things, and it seems like they're advancing, like they're getting money and they're getting comfortable situations, because again, we turn on Facebook and we see Instagram and we see all this flashing, like everybody living a great life. First of all, we know for a fact that what you see people presenting, that ain't the whole picture. Don't nobody want to get up there and take ugly pictures of themselves and put it up. Everybody take the best pictures they take of themselves and they put up. They delete the ugly pictures. So it's the same thing on social media. We see that. So we see these evil people, that are living a clearly transgressing type of lifestyle, and we see them benefiting, and then that now makes us depressed because, oh man, I envy what they have. Maybe if I did that, I could have that, but I can't have that because I want to live this righteous lifestyle. Well, that's the wrong perspective to take. That's going to cause further depression because we're being envious of evil activities, which is just going to lead to you either being ultra depressed or you doing evil activities, which is going to end in the same result that those people are dealing with in their own lives that they don't want to present to you.
These pagan holidays.
Mm-hmm.
You got this pagan holiday coming up, Valentine's Day. And a lot of people think that nobody don't love it, they don't get a Valentine's Day card or flowers or candy.
Right.
So they had depressed in their heart because they so-called love them, don't love them because they don't feel like giving them they break up with them so they don't have to give no present to them.
Right.
Then you got that Christmas, that X-Man stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You don't love your children or love your wife because you don't want to have a Christmas tree, satanic Christmas tree in your house. Understand? So, and then the children out there go outside and be subjected to pain in their heart because children are playing with toys and your children don't. So there's a lot of people out there on Christmas that they commit suicide because they feel they have nobody to love them.
Right.
You understand? Thinking that nobody cares about them because of a satanic pagan holiday. So this is where we have dropped to. Not understanding the love of Yahweh, but we thinking that the love comes from these pagan holidays.
Right. Right. And Shalom, Sister Michelle Wright. And I was watching Dick Gregory earlier, and he made a comment about his mom. He said, one of the most beautiful ladies in the world. She said he said she worked 2 jobs, worked hard and slaved just so she could provide Christmas.
Right.
No, not so that she can have money to put away so they could go to college or start a business. No, so she could give them Christmas. And that's the brain screw that we got, that we are breaking our backs starting Christmas funds. They have holiday funds where you have bank accounts set aside just for holidays so that these corporations can get richer. It's beyond the pagan worship. That's the root of it. But it goes to the pagan worship of worshiping the almighty dollar. That's what these holidays are about right now. So it's just sad, the structure and then the depression that comes around these seasons. And some people, it's not that. Some people, it's family. It's the fact that, they miss their family. They want to be around their family and they don't have their family. And that's understandable. But why you didn't miss your family the day before?
Right.
It's the same thing with Valentine's Day. If you're and Mother's Day. I told my mother, I said, Mom, if you feel slighted because I didn't get you something on Mother's Day, that means I didn't do my job 363 days of the year. I didn't make you feel loved and appreciated. So this year, I'm going to make sure that I take the time to make sure that on an average day, on a Tuesday, you feel that like Mother's Day. On a Thursday, you feel like Mother's Day, and not just on some pagan Sunday that they decided to worship the Queen of Heaven. Proverbs, Mishlei, chapter 24. And we're going to start this at verse 1.
Be not you envious against evil men, neither desire to be with them. For their heart studies destruction, and their lips talk of mischief. Through wisdom is a house builded, and by understanding it is established. And by knowledge shall the chambers be filled with all precious and pleasant riches.
All right, so verse 3 is also important as well. Through wisdom is a house builded. So you got to have knowledge, and then you got to put forth that knowledge in place and use it, which would be the wisdom, and that house is built. And now you have a house of such and such, house of such and such, but it is understanding, which is the knowledge and wisdom applicated to depart from evil, which is going to establish that house. So we can start a great thing. We can start a great assembly. We can do all that stuff and build it. But it's the actual using of everything that we gain from the assembly by, the Spirit to depart from evil that's going to establish that and keep it in its place. Go ahead.
Verse 4. And by knowledge shall the chambers be filled with all precious and pleasant riches. A wise man is strong, yea, a man of knowledge increases strength. For by wise counsel you shall make your war, and in multitude of counselors there is safety. Wisdom is too high for a fool. He opens not his mouth in the gate. He that devises to do evil shall be called a mischievous person. The thought of foolishness is sin, and the scorner is an abomination to men. If you faint in the day of adversity, your strength is small. We're at verse 11. Proverbs chapter 24 and verse 11. If you forbear to deliver them that are drawn unto death, and those that are ready to be slain, if you say, behold, we knew it not, does not he that ponders the heart consider it? And he that keeps your soul, does not he know it? And shall not he render to every man according to his works?
All right, so here's another example of what we talked about earlier. When it says here in verse 10, it says, if you faint in the day of adversity, your strength is small. So, that's kind of a general statement. You got adversity, a bunch of bullies want to jump you, and you just faint. Oh, it's adversity. I can't take it, and you faint. Oh, you're weak. Your strength is small. But if you keep reading, you see what it's talking about here. If you forbear to deliver them that are drawn unto death, and those that are ready to be slain, that goes again with, the wicked doesn't regard, the righteous, but I'm paraphrasing what we read, but the righteous will think about the wicked in the day of his wickedness, that, considers his soul. That was the term, considers his soul. Well, this is it here. If you forbear to deliver them that are drawn to death, and those that are ready to be slain, goes right back up. Your strength is small. That's the day of adversity. If you say to yourself, behold, we didn't know, I didn't know this. Does not he that ponders the heart consider it? And he that keeps your body, does not he know it? And shall not he render to every man according to his works? So you're fainting in a day of adversity is when you see your brother or your sister heading into transgression, knowing that this is going to cause death eventually if they don't repent, and you don't say nothing. And then you try to act like, well, I didn't know they were doing this, or I didn't know they were doing that. The Most High knows the thoughts of your hearts, and he's going to remember those type of things.
I want to answer that.
Go ahead.
Want me to get that?
Yeah.
I can look a little bit about that verse. Verse 10 seemed like a small verse, but if you really get into it, I will put it as this.
Go ahead and address that.
It depends on how you play, how you practice.
Mm-hmm.
It says, if thou faint in the days of adversity, thy strength is small. Well, how do you get strength?
Right. Exactly.
I mean, right now we're reading this Torah. We're trying to learn about strength.
Mm-hmm.
But to get this strength, we also have to practice this strength. Because when Yeshua used to talk, he used to say certain things, do you believe I can do this? So you have to believe in your heart when you're looking at him. And he is power incarnate right there. I mean, his Father, made him the Word. Mm-hmm. So Yahweh's Word is speaking to you right now. There's nothing around you that's supposed to stop you from believing in his Word, because the trueness is right in front of you. Mm-hmm. The pureness is right in front of you. So if he's asking you, do you believe I can do this thing? Mm-hmm. And you say, I believe, it shall be done. Because he can look through your heart and know that you're believing it. But when you have to learn to believe, you have to learn to believe in yourself when you're playing sports. I can do this. Every man got to know his limitations. I know I can do this, I know I can do that, I can't do that, I got it good in it. Okay, so when I studied to be a firefighter, working on ships, we had to do this every week. We had to go to a camp in New York or wherever, learn how to do this. That doesn't mean, am I going to be ready to fight this fire when it's time to fight this fire? I should be, because I've been training. Okay? But where's my strength when the fire does happen?
Right.
If I don't have no strength and believe that I can fight this fire, you understand, then I'm going to fail. I won't move. You understand? I'm going to be afraid.
Paralyzed. Right.
I won't do my job. At the same time, if I can't do my job, then you got the next verse coming into line. How you going to save a person or help save a person if you don't have no strength inside of you? You can't speak of the word. You can't speak the word of authority. Mm-hmm. You can't activate the word by your actions. Mm-hmm. So what are you? You're not going to be a profitable servant.
Right.
So the way I'm looking at this is how we use the daily things in our life, the things we go through. Because if you look at Yeshua used to let the people understand his word, his Father's word, by the action that they led every day. Mm-hmm. They were farmers. They were herdsmen. They were builders. So he gave comparisons in fishermen. So he gave comparisons of the word by the actions that they did every day. They knew how to fish. They knew how to build. Knew how to plant. Knew how to water. Mm-hmm. So they had knowledge of that. And they also built up a strength inside of them to do that job. So Yeshua said, well, I'm going to comparison to my Father's word to the things they already know. That will strengthen them in that knowledge. But then they have to walk in it. And if we walk in it, then we slowly learn how to gain strength. So when we continue to gain strength in that, we play as we practice. And we practice as we play. So that's why I look at that verse. It seems like it's only 2 lines.
Right.
It seems like it's small. But as my brothers have said, when you couple it with the verses that's following it, it strengthens it on how we're supposed to walk on this path.
Right. And we had Shalom Muhammad Haas. He had a question. He asked us, are we Jewish? Brother Jonathan, can you go ahead and elaborate a little bit on that? And Shabbat Shalom, Brother Luke is cool.
I see Brother Brandon Pierce was reading my mind on that and answered. He's like, not Jewish, but descendants of the black Hebrews, according to Deuteronomy 28. So basically,
biblical Hebrews.
Oh, biblical. Right. So where it says, the question is, are you Jewish? That terminology, Jewish, is pretty much says a lot, because black-ish is something like black or whatever else we add ish to.
Stop acting man-ish.
Yeah, like man or girlish.
Man-like.
So it's not really. So what we perceive as Jewish today, or who we believes to be the Jews today, are the majority are converted Ashkenazis from the European nations, Germany, which is why they came with the name Jewish. So if you look at the prophecy and the fulfilled prophecy and the conclusions drawn in Deuteronomy 28, you'll see what would have happened to the real Yehudim, which is where Jew comes from, the real Yehudim, or the whole true Israelites who made a covenant with Yah at the Mount, being scattered, being drawn into nations whose language they don't understand, being being persecuted, being pushed, scattered all across the world through sword, persecution, famine, wherever the case may be. Yah did scatter us and had us subjected to other nations for an extended period of time. Genesis tells us even 400 years. So coming into our understanding, we're not Jewish, but we're practicing the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High as He asked us to do, which is the reason why we were scattered all over the place.
Right. And like you said, I like the way you also said, Yehudim or Yehudi. The term Jew never came. First of all, the letter J didn't come into existence to, like the 15th century or something like that. So we wouldn't have been called that. I never heard nobody say, you're a you. Nah, that didn't even come into play. And the only times they started using that term Jew was when we were occupied or we were in captivity. We were always known as Yehudim or Yehudi or as Yasharal or Eber, Ibri or Hebrews. This whole term Jewish came about way later. Even the term Jew came way later, when Judea came into picture, where you were a Jew if you lived in Judea, which was Roman occupied so-called portion of Judah. So that's where that came in. And then it also came in where you are a Jew by your mother, which is not biblical. When you look in Numbers, it tells you point blank they reckon according to their father's house. All right. So we're at Proverbs chapter 24, and we're at verse 19.
Is it 19 or are we at 13? After the part about being weak in strength.
Okay, yeah.
10 and 11.
Right. Does he not consider according to your works? You're right. Verse 13.
My son, eat you honey because it is good, and the honeycomb which is sweet to your taste. So shall the knowledge of wisdom be unto your soul when you have found it. Then there shall be a reward, and your expectation shall not be cut off. Lay not wait, O wicked man, against the dwelling of the righteous. Spoil not his resting place. For a just man falls 7 times and rises up again, but the wicked shall fall into mischief. So
we have to keep that in mind too when I'm trying to equate our mercy, that even a just man falls 7 times. So what if he not a just man? He a wicked man that's trying to repent. He gonna fall even more times than that. So we have to understand that there's going to be a period of time. If you be around somebody long enough, you're going to see a rise and you're going to see a fall. But the key thing to look at is what happens when somebody falls. What do? Do they get up? Are they falling in that same hole over and over? Or are they even trying to get up? Or are they just laying in there? Or are they justifying their fall? So that when they fall again, because they intend on falling again, they're going to find some kind of legal loophole to do so. But we have to keep that in mind when we're trying to be merciful to people, that understanding that we're in a perpetual cycle of falling and rising, falling and rising, falling and rising. And that is the endurance process. And the endurance process is eventually you're going to stand up a little bit longer, but you have to continue that process.
Verse 17. Rejoice not when your enemy falls, and let not your heart be glad when he stumbles, lest Yahweh see it, and it displease him, and he turn away his wrath from him.
All right, so when you're to not rejoice when your enemy falls, because when he falls, that's an opportunity for him to get back up and start walking in the right way. Because if Yahweh sees it, when Yahweh is trying to chasten his son or chasten another nation or whatever the case may be, and you're taking pleasure in that, Yahweh says himself, I don't take pleasure in punishing and killing the wicked. He doesn't take pleasure in that. He takes pleasure in the judgment aspect of equity, of doing things rightfully. So we shouldn't take pleasure in seeing people fall, because that may be the very thing that causes them to walk right, because that's what caused us to walk right. We didn't walk right because Yah was just so nice to us and gave us a bunch of nice things. We walked right because we fell and he didn't kill us. Go ahead.
You put enmity in that man when you beat him or he get chastised, and you rejoice in that man's pain.
Right.
So how are you going to be able to teach that man any level of humility by your actions if you revel in his pain?
Right. And this is talking about an enemy. What about people that rejoice when somebody that's not your enemy falls?
Yeah.
This is when your family member falls, your brother, your sister fall. There's an issue there. And you have to examine within yourself, why are you so happy to see somebody fall? What joy does that give you? Well, for one, it allows somebody to take the tension off of themselves and their own falls. Oh, thank goodness, and not me today. This brother fall. Ooh, yes, take the tension off of me.
What enemy is talking to you in your ear, helping you to smile and laugh and rejoice over another man's pain?
Right. If you're a brother or sister, you're supposed to be trying to help somebody up for a fall. That way it's two people walking together, because you know you're going to slip or trip one of these days, and you're going to want somebody there to help you get up from your fall.
That's right. That's wicked.
Verse 19. Fret not yourself because of evil men, neither be you envious at the wicked. For there shall be no reward to the evil man. The candle of the wicked shall be put out.
And anytime you see in any chapter where they're repeating the same thing, that's the same thing he said in verse 1. Be not envious against the evil man. Pay attention to that. Go ahead.
Verse 21. My son, fear you, Yahweh, and the king, and meddle not with them that are given to change. For their calamity shall rise suddenly, and who knows the ruin of them both?
And we know that word meddle, we know right there, we just read that you're supposed to say something to somebody that's trying to, in the day of adversity, they're about to walk into their own death. You want to say something. And some people consider that meddling. Oh, I don't meddle. That's a bad choice of words. With the word here for meddling was, don't yoke yourself to people that are given in change. You see somebody is wanting to walk a certain direction, and don't yoke yourself to that. You can't. They're given to change. They want to go that direction. All you can do is say something to them. You say something to them. But again, can two walk together unless they are agreed? If they're not agreeing, they can't walk together. Doesn't mean that that's not your brother, or you're supposed to just cut them off and don't deal with them. But don't yoke yourself to them when they're in that transgression.
Brother Mikhail, do you have a extension cable I can use? Mine is short and it's dead. Let me continue. Verse 22. For their calamity shall rise suddenly, and who knows the ruin of them both? These things also belong to the wise. It is not good to have respect of persons in judgment. He that says unto the wicked, you are righteous, him shall the people curse. Nations shall abhor him. But to them that rebuke him shall be delight, and a good blessing shall come upon them.
Again, he that says to the wicked, you are righteous, the people shall curse. Nations shall abhor him. But to them that rebuke him shall be delight, and good blessing shall come upon them. And this is again ties right back in there with again, if you see somebody and you say, behold, I did not know it, I didn't ponder it in those who ponder the heart, does he not consider it? You got to say something. But what do we want to do? We want to sit and we want to talk about people behind their backs. That ain't going to help somebody. If you see somebody in a transgression or somebody that's in a fall, rebuke the person. Talk to them. Because if you don't, that's almost like taking joy in seeing them fall. Somebody's life could be dependent on that. If somebody is falling in a situation, there's obviously some level of blindness. Because if you see a hole right here, how many people are going to walk directly into the hole to fall? Obviously, there's some level of blindness going on, whether it's because of their own, fleshliness that's going on, or YAH maybe just having them blinded for a reason because they need to take that fall. But we have to work with one another. This is why the eyes work this way. They work outward. It doesn't work inward. It works outward so we can see each other and help each other avoid certain falls.
Verse 24. Verse 25. But to them that rebuke him shall be delight, and a good blessing shall come upon them.
And a good blessing will come upon them when you rebuke somebody that is getting ready to fall into something or walking in a bad state. Because whether or not they listen or not, that's not your job. That's beyond your pay grade. Your job is to be an ambassador of righteousness, and a blessing will come unto you. And that blessing could be when you're ready to walk in that hole, somebody going to say something to you, but you're not going to stiffen your neck like maybe another individual did. You'll open up your ears and say, man, I didn't see that. Thank you. And have love for a brother or sister that rebuked you.
Verse 26. Every man shall kiss his lips that gives a right answer. Prepare your work without, and make it fit for yourself in the field, and afterward build your house. Be not a witness against your neighbor without a cause, and deceive not with your lips. Say not, I will do so to him as he has done to me. I will render to the man according to his work. I went by the field of the slothful, and by the vineyard of the man void of understanding. And lo, it was all grown over with thorns, and nettles had covered the face thereof, and the stone wall thereof was broken down. Then I saw and considered it well. I looked upon it and received instruction. Yet a little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to sleep, so shall your poverty come as one that traveleth, and your want as an armed man.
All right. Let's move on. Let's go to Yohanan, John chapter 14.
Yohanan, John,
chapter 14. It's right after Luke.
Yohanan, John 14 and verse 1. Let not your heart be troubled. You believe in Yahweh, believe also in me. In my Father's house are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you. I go to prepare a place for you. And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and receive you unto myself, that where I am, there you may be also. And where I go, you know, and the way you know. Thomas said unto him, Master, we know not where you go, and how can we know the way? Yeshua said unto him, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man comes unto the Father but by me. If you had known me, you should have known my Father also, and from henceforth you know him and have seen him. Philip says unto him, Master, show us the Father, and it suffice us. Yeshua said unto him, Have I been so long time with you, and yet have you not known me, Philip? He that has seen me has seen the Father. And how say you then, show us the Father? Believe you not that I am in the Father, and the Father in me? The words that I speak unto you, I speak not of myself, but the Father that dwells in me, he does the works. Believe me that I am in the Father, and the Father in me, or else believe me for the very work's sake. Verily, verily, I say unto you, he that believes on me, the works that I do, shall he do also, and greater works than these shall he do, because I go unto my Father.
And this is the one of the things that we fail to pay attention to, where it says, verse 12, he that believes on me, that believes on the Mashiach, Yahshua, the works that he does, you will do also. So you can't say that you believe in the Mashiach if you don't do the works that he did. And this is, again, all through the New Testament, you see the works that Yahshua did is he kept the commandments and he did good deeds. So if we are to be followers of Christ, or if we're going to call ourselves a Christian or an Israelite, and we are believers and we followers of Christ, then the works that he did, we should do also, which means he was heavy in compassion. He was heavy in mercy. You know, he was patient. He wasn't wrathful. He didn't judge people, even though he had the power to judge people. He didn't do those things. So these are the example that we are trying to walk towards to get to that level where we can be doing the works that he did, because he goes to his Father, greater works that we'll do, because we'll be able to do this without doing all those miracles, without having the Messiah next to us, without being known as the group that had the Messiah right next to him, like the disciples did.
Verse 13. And whatsoever you shall ask in my name, that will I do, that the Father may be glorified in the Son. If you shall ask anything in my name, I will do it. If you love me, keep my commandments. And I will pray the Father, and he shall give you another comforter, that he may abide with you forever. Even the Spirit of truth, whom the world cannot receive, because it sees him not, neither knows him, but you know him, for he dwells with you and shall be in you. I will not leave you comfortless. I will come to you. Yet a little while, and the world sees me no more. But you see me. Because I live, you shall live also. At that day, you shall know that I am in my Father, and you in me, and I in you. He that has my commandments and keeps them, he it is that loves me. And he that loves me shall be loved of my Father, and I will love him and will manifest myself to him. Yehuda says unto him, not Iscariot, Master, how is it that you will manifest yourself unto us and not unto the world? Yahshua answered and said unto him, If a man love me, he will keep my words, and my Father will love him, and will come unto him, and make our abode with him. He that loves me not, keeps not my sayings, and the word which you hear is not mine, but the Father's which sent me. These things have I spoken unto you, being yet present with you. But the Comforter, which is the Ruach Kodesh, Holy Spirit, whom the Father will send in my name, he shall teach you all things, and bring all things to your remembrance, whatsoever I have said unto you.
All right, so that's what the Holy Spirit will do. It will, which he will send in his name, which means he's going to come in the name of Yahshua. He shall teach you all things and bring all things to your remembrance. The Holy Spirit is a spirit of truth. He's going to teach you things. So you have to spend time with the scriptures in order for the Holy Spirit to teach you something. It has to call and bring something to remembrance. You can't remember something that you've never remembered, that never happened to you, that you never had. That has to come to you. So this is why we spend time with the scriptures and why we make that covenant through immersion, so that we can receive this Holy Spirit, so that we can always have that guidance with us to keep us and help us making the right decision. Because there'd be gray areas at certain times, but that's when the spirit of truth comes in. That's where study comes in to confirm certain things, and then the results of something that will help you get a better understanding of how to depart from evil. Go ahead.
Peace I leave with you, my peace I give unto you. Not as the world gives, give I unto you. Let not your heart be troubled, neither let it be afraid.
So he's leaving peace, but this is a different type of peace that is going to come with this word. It's a peace that allows you to rejoice in Yah no matter what happens, because all you can control is your walk according to these commandments. You can't control what's happening in the world. You can't control what your neighbor does, but you can control your own actions. And with that understanding that it's going to be well with you if you keep your end of the bargain, that will allow you to have peace in your life no matter what happens, because you know the latter end, you know the end of the story. Just for example, if you're in a movie, right? Mm-hmm. And in the movie, it got you going through all these horrible things, right? And you're like, oh man, this doesn't look like a good part. But you skip to the end and you realize, oh, I'm going to be king. I'm going to be, I'm going to have the mansion. I'm going to rule the world. You're going to want that part because you know the end of it. So it's the same thing with us. We know the end of the matter if we just do what Christ did. And he's not even asking us to do it to the level he did it. He's just asking to do it for the calling that we have in our lives, but do the same actions as far as following the instructions of the Father, and we will have that peace in our lives. But the world's peace is temporary. It's as good as long as they can use you for something, or they can make money off of you, or as long as they're not jealous of you, and then there goes that peace. It's gone.
Verse 28, you have heard how I said unto you, I go away and come again unto you. If you loved me, you would rejoice, because I said I go unto the Father, for my Father is greater than I. And now I have told you before it come to pass, that when it come to pass you might believe. Hereafter I will not talk much with you, for the prince of this world comes and has nothing in me. But that the world may know that I love the Father, and as the Father gave me commandment, even so I do. Arise, let us go hence.
All right, let's move on. Let's go to chapter 16, John chapter 16. Just going down 2 more chapters. Yohanan, John, chapter 16. And we're going to start this at verse 1.
These things have I spoken unto you, that you should not be offended. They shall put you out of the synagogues. Yea, the time comes that whosoever kills you will think that he does Elohim service. And these things will they do unto you, because they have not known the Father nor me. But these things have I told you, that when the time shall come, you may remember that I told you of them. And these things I said not unto you at the beginning, because I was with you. But now I go my way to him that sent me, and none of you asks me, where go you? But because I have said these things unto you, sorrow has filled your hearts. Nevertheless, I tell you the truth. It is expedient for you that I go away. For if I go not away, the Comforter will not come unto you. But if I depart, I will send him unto you. And when he is come, he will reprove the world of sin, and of righteousness, and of judgment, and of sin because they believe not on me, of righteousness because I go to my Father, and you see me no more, of judgment because the prince of this world is judged. I have yet many things to say unto you, but you cannot bear them now. Howbeit, when he, the Spirit of truth, is come, he will guide you into all truth. For he shall not speak of himself, but whatsoever he shall hear, that shall he speak, and he will show you things to come. He shall glorify me, for he shall not receive of mine, and shall show it unto you. He shall glorify, for he shall receive of mine, and shall show it unto you. All things that the Father has are mine. Therefore said I, that he shall take of mine, and shall show it unto you. A little while, and you shall not see me. And again, a little while, and you shall see me, because I go to the Father. Then said some of his disciples among themselves, what is this that he says unto us? A little while, and you shall not see me, and again a little while, and you shall see me, because I go to the Father? They said, therefore, what is this that he says, a little while? We cannot tell what he says. Now Yeshua knew that they were desirous to ask him, and said unto them, do you inquire among yourselves of what I said? A little while, and you shall not see me, and a little while, and you shall see me. Verily, verily, I say unto you, that you shall weep and lament, but the world shall rejoice. And you shall be sorrowful, but your sorrow shall be turned into joy. A woman, when she is in travail, has sorrow, because her hour is come. But as soon as she is delivered of the child, she remembers no more the anguish for the joy that a man is born into the world. And you now, therefore, have sorrow, but I will see you again, and your heart shall rejoice, and your joy no man takes from you.
So the sorrow and the pain and the chastening and the anguish and the tribulation that we go in our lives is so that the new body, the new spirit could be reborn in our lives. And once we are born into this world, once we are born into this new spiritual body through the Mashiach, we're supposed to forget all that pain. We're supposed to be back into that rejoice mode where we're rejoicing in that we know the victory. We know what's going to happen. Again, he's talking about earlier about the Holy Spirit is going to tell you things, and you're going to know what's going to happen in the future. So now that we know what is going to happen in the future, if we have made that covenant and we are doing our best to walk in that, we should be rejoicing in our heart. We should be rejoicing in Yah, because all of this is going to glorify him. That we change, that we survive, that we endure through the prince of this world. And we know that we are going to return back unto him.
Verse 23. And in that day you shall ask me nothing. Verily, verily, I say unto you, whatsoever you shall ask the Father in my name, he will give it to you.
All right, so we ask in the Father, but in his name, in the Shem. In Yah is salvation, in Yeshua's name, in this word. We are asking through this word, through not our deeds, not only our deeds, but also the words, how we ask. If we believe it in our hearts, if we are actually abiding in the body, it's going to change the things that we ask for, because it's going to be concerned more than just some material things. Oh, can I get this Lamborghini? Oh, can I really get this $100,000 job? Oh, can I really get this? No, we're going to ask for things that matter, things that are important.
Good. Glad you explained that people bastardize that verse so much.
Right, thinking that, it's a wishing well.
Yeah.
You just call on Jesus' name and you're going to get that money, because that's what they're teaching you.
That's the blessing plan.
Right.
Verse 24. Hitherto have you asked nothing in my name. Ask, and you shall receive, that your joy may be full. These things have I spoken unto you in Proverbs, but the time comes when I shall no more speak unto you in Proverbs, but I shall show you plainly of the Father. At that day you shall ask in my name, and I say not unto you that I will pray the Father for you, for the Father himself loves you, because you have loved me, and have believed that I came from Elohim. I came forth from the Father, and am come into the world again. I leave the world and go to the Father.
All right, so I came forth from the Father and am come into the world. Again, I leave the world and go to the Father. Go ahead.
Verse 29, his disciples said unto him, Lo, now speak you plainly, and speak no proverb. Now are we sure that you know all things, and need not that any man should ask you. By this we believe that you came forth from Elohim. Yeshua answered them, Do you now believe? Behold, the hour comes, yea, is now come, that you shall be scattered, every man to his own, and shall leave me alone. And yet I am not alone, because the Father is with me. These things I have spoken unto you, that in me you might have peace. In the world you shall have tribulation, but be of good cheer. I have overcome the world.
All right, so in him, in me, you might have peace. So in this word, you will have peace. But in this world, you are going to have tribulation, because again, the righteous is abomination to the wicked, and the wicked is abomination unto the righteous. So the world is not going to make it easy for you to want to walk in righteousness. But if you have peace in this word, then you already know the latter end. You know that they're not going to overtake you. You have something, Elder?
Yeah, I was looking up.
Here.
I wanted to say, look at the word being overcome, because that's who he said he wants to become.
You said what? What verse?
Overcomer. That's the last verse. That's verse 20 and 33. When he's talking about
Overcome in the world. So you're talking about John 16 and verse 33.
right. You know, and this kind of goes along with what we was talking about before. All this training, if we are allowed to live long enough after we come to the truth of this word, we go through our training periods to learn of Yahweh, to learn what he wants us to do. And the longer we stay alive, the longer we follow him, the longer, I'll say the more information they give us, the stuff that we have to learn and live through. So when you talk about being an overcomer, that means that all the stuff that tries to blind our eyes of this world, and we are going to be overcomers in those things because it doesn't hold us. We don't envy anybody that has these things. We don't covet anybody who has these things. So we want to believe in what the Most High says about our everlasting salvation in his kingdom. Because having Lamborghinis, having, huge homes, having an abundance of money does not constitute being be in the kingdom. So it doesn't mean that he says sometimes you cannot have none of these things, but he knows your heart, but you don't know your heart. You don't know if Yahweh blesses you with these things, or you're going to bless the homeless, or you're going to be a good steward of what he allows you to have. I mean, we know that Abraham and a lot of the heavyweights, I call them, they were rich. Look how many servants that they had. And they were rich by not just gold and silver that they had, but they had cattle. They had servants.
Right.
And their servants loved to serve them because they know that their master loved them. The master followed the Most High. So they trusted him. That's why they followed him. So they saw the benefits of being a servant of the Most High. Even if they didn't understand what their personal master was doing at the time, they trusted in him. So when you look at being an overcomer in this world, we have to learn, as Yeshua just said, do you believe what I said? In other words, do you trust me? Do you trust where I come from? Do you believe I'm from the Most High? I'm the Son of the Most High. That can do all these things. And I have a kingdom that my Father has made, that I have a house for you to live in. I have a place for you to dwell. So He's talking about salvation issues here. So we have to learn how to be overcomer of the pull of this world. You know, how you say temptations of this world.
Right.
And not succumb to, you know, when people how we just say bastard that verse that we read about, ask him in his name, he'll give all these things unto you. Who are you that he should give anything to you if you don't follow his law? If you never believe in the commandments and follow the commandments follow. You know, if you don't do those things, why should the Son of the Most High bless you? Then what that means? That he's blessing a wicked child?
Right.
You know, I mean, this is what the world don't realize they're pushing. You saying that the Son of the Most High is blessing you, but you're not following the commandments of the Most High.
Right.
And if you're not following the commandments of the Most High, he said right there, the truth is not in you.
Right.
So why should the Son bless you, but the Father, why should you receive the honor of calling on the Messiah, you understand, for things that you need, and he shall bless you with it if you don't honor his Father.
Right.
So this is what I wanted to bring light on, because how are we going to be overcomers if we don't believe in the word that we read, if we're not walking in the word? So we have to try to walk in the word.
Right. Right. Basically, we're saying that Yahweh is a respecter of persons. You know, he gonna punish you for, you know, all these servants and great kings have done great things and all that, and all them they gonna get punished for transgressing. But you okay? You're gonna get rewarded for doing transgression. So he's a respecter of persons, basically. You just so special for whatever reason that he just gonna let you do whatever you want and reward you. And that is a complete blindness if you believe that. If you actually read this book and believe that. If you don't read this book, you can believe that easily. But if you read this book, there's no possible way you can believe that, because you're not going to see that anywhere in here. People that he said was a man of his heart, he punished them.
Right.
So who are you then? You a man far off from him then? If he don't punish you, somebody rewarding you, and who would get glory out of rewarding you for doing wickedness? And that's what we have to ask ourselves. The Most High rewards me for doing something. Who's getting the glory? Or if I'm rewarded, who's getting the glory? Is the Most High getting glory because he's rewarding me? Or is the adversary, the devil, getting glory for rewarding me? Yahweh don't get glory for rewarding people to do transgression. Yeah, don't listen to me. Don't do what I say. And here's a reward for that. Now, you're going to get a reward, all right, but it's not going to be a favorable reward. Let's go to Colossians chapter 3. Colossians is like another 3 or 4 books down.
It's after Galatians, it's after Corinthians, it's after Philippians.
Right after Philippians.
And if you hit Thessalonians and Hebrews, you went too far. If you hit Timothy, you went too far.
Can you help Mama find Colossians? You know, when Yahshua talks about this peace that I leave with you, you know, this peace is not of the world, and this peace is of the word, is of Yahshua. But you got to allow that peace to enter into your heart and to give you peace and to allow you to rejoice. If you want to allow that peace to enter into your heart, you want to allow this word to penetrate your heart, your actions are going to keep putting you in a position where you're not going to have peace, where you're not going to be in a position to rejoice. Colossians chapter 3, and we're going to start this at verse 1.
If you then be risen with Mashiach, seek those things which are above, where Mashiach sits on the right hand of Yahweh. Set your affection on things above, not on things on the earth. For you are dead, and your life is hid with Mashiach in Yahweh. When Mashiach, who is our life, shall appear, then shall you also appear with him in glory. Mortify, therefore, your members which are upon the earth, fornication, uncleanness, inordinate affection, evil concupiscence, and covetousness, which is idolatry. For which things' sake the wrath of Elohim comes on the children of disobedience, in the which you also walked in some time when you lived in them. But now you also put off all these: anger, wrath, malice, blasphemy, filthy communication out of your mouth. Lie not one to another, seeing that you have put off the old man with his deeds, and have put on the new man, which is renewed in knowledge, after him, after the image of him that created him, where there is neither Greek nor Yehudim, circumcision nor uncircumcision, barbarian, Scythian, bond nor free, but Mashiach is all and in all. Put on therefore, as the elect of Elohim, holy and beloved bowels of mercies, kindness, humbleness of mind, meekness, long-suffering, forbearing one another and forgiving one another. If any man have a quarrel against any, even as Mashiach forgave you, so also do you. And above all these things, put on charity, which is the bond of perfectness. And let the peace of Elohim rule in your hearts, to the which also you are called in one body, and be you thankful. Let the word of Mashiach dwell in you richly in all wisdom, teaching and admonishing one another in psalms and hymns and spiritual songs, singing with grace in your hearts to Elohim. And whatsoever you do in the name of the Master Yahshua, giving thanks to Yahweh the Father by him. Wives, submit yourselves unto your own husbands, as it is fit in Yahweh.
All right, looking at verse 15, and let the peace of Yahweh rule in your hearts, to the which also you are called in one body, and be you thankful. Let the word of the Mashiach dwell in you richly in all wisdom, teaching and admonishing one another in psalms and hymns and spiritual songs, singing with grace in your hearts to Yahweh. So letting this peace of Elohim rule in your hearts, which means you're letting your heart be shaped by this word. Now, this word constitutes what you read in your own individual study, what you are taught by your teacher or an elder, and also what you are rebuked by your brother or sister who is also doing these same things, learning this word, reading this word, trying to pattern themselves. And it says in there to let the word of the Mashiach dwell in you richly in all wisdom, teaching and admonishing one another. So it's a process. It's not a one-way street where you just correct people all the time and you just tell people what they're doing wrong all the time. It has to be both ways. When you are wrong or you're doing something, you have to be in a position where you're not stiffening your neck, where you're able to listen to other brothers and sisters who are also trying to walk according to the word. And that doesn't mean that every time somebody tells you something that they're right, or every time you tell somebody something that you are right. But there should be peace amongst each other, because you know that the place and where it's coming from is from the peace of Elohim. It's not trying to hurt or harm somebody. And if somebody brings something up to you, even if you disagree, you have to say, well, that ain't just going to come out the blue. There has to be some kind of root in that. So let me examine my own actions to see where this is coming from.
Verse.
The peace he gives us in John 14:27 he was talking about.
Right. Because the peace knows that, hey, listen, in the latter end, it's going to be well with me, because even if I can't see it now, I will see it later because I'm examining my actions. If I'm blinded for a reason, it's usually because of a fleshly action, or an emotion or a lack of keeping a commandment. And if Yahweh loved you enough to send somebody to rebuke you, especially somebody that you respect and know that walks in this word, and you have rebuked that person before, then it's an opportunity for them to reciprocate and say, look, you showed me the love to show me, hey, I'm about to make a grave error. And you rebuked me. You risked our relationship by putting your friendship on the line by saying, listen, man, this is not going to be a good act if you do this. If you do this, you're going to bring a lot of harm to your household. And they listen to you. That individual, if they have love in their hearts, they watching your back the same way you watching theirs. Just like you stop somebody getting hit by a car. Whoa, car. You best believe everywhere you go with that person, you looking out for them to make sure they're not getting hit by a car because this person done saved my life. That's peace. Because even when you are blind, you're going to still have that peace because you're going to have loving people around you to help you and guide you.
Colossians chapter 3 and verse 19. Husbands, love your wives and be not bitter against them. Children, obey your parents in all things, for this is well-pleasing unto Yahweh. Fathers, provoke not your children to anger, lest they be discouraged. Servants, obey in all things your masters according to the flesh, not with eye service as men pleasers, but in singleness of heart, fearing Elohim. And whatsoever you do, do it heartily, as to Yahweh, and not unto men, knowing that of Yahweh you shall receive the reward of the inheritance, for you serve the master Mashiach. But he that does wrong shall receive for the wrong which he has done, and there's no respect of persons.
All right, so he that has done wrong shall receive for the wrong which he has done, and there's no respect of persons. So if you know this, this is why we have to make sure that we speak up to one another when we see that one another are doing something wrong, because you know that there's going to be a recompense for that. So if you love your brother or sister, how could you not say something to that? And when you are rebuked for something that you did wrong, yeah, initially you're going to have a humble and contrite spirit once you realize what you did wrong. But once you get out of that and you're able to change the act, there should be rejoicing in Yah. Praise Yah that you loved me enough to point out my error when you saw me heading towards death. Praise Yah. And when you have that kind of mind, this is what always cause you to rejoice in Yah no matter what you're going through. Because you know at the end of the day, the Most High loved you enough to send a servant to come talk to you. Let's go to Proverbs chapter 16. Mishlei chapter 16. A lot of times we can't have peace in our lives is because we refuse to humble ourselves to whatever action that's going on in our lives. And a lot of times it's not because we're completely blind to it. It's that we don't want to accept it because we want to view ourselves a certain way. We want to think of ourselves more highly than what we are. But you can have peace in yourself when you acknowledge that, hey, look, I'm not perfect. If I did something wrong or I'm doing something wrong, let me work on changing that. And I know that I'm going to, because the Mashiach died for me, I'm in a grace period. This is the time where you want to do it. Just like when you're in what they call the sandbox, when you're trying to put your application. This is where you try to break the application, because guess what? This is the safety zone. This is the time for us to do that. So this is the time for us to work with each other. Proverbs chapter 16. This is the time for us to work with each other in peace, not trying to harm each other or down talk each other or bring each other down, but to work with each other to get this right within each other. Because this is the grace period. This is the time we want to have it together by the time the Mashiach comes back. And when you have that, you can have a peaceful continence with your situation, because you know the Most High is working these things out of us as an assembly, as an individual, as a nation, as a household, as a family. He's working these things out of us, and we know that the latter end is going to be well with us if we put forth that effort and we use everything that he gave us and all the people that he gave us to perfect this. Thank you, Caesar.
Proverbs, Mishlei, chapter 16 and verse 1. The preparations of the heart in man, and the answer of the tongue is from Yahweh. All the ways of a man are clean in his own eyes, but Yahweh weighs the spirits. Commit your works unto Yahweh, and your thoughts shall be established.
All right. So it says in verse 2, all the ways of man are clean in his own eyes, but Yahweh weighs the spirits. Because a lot of times it may look clean in our own eyes because we don't understand we are entertaining a spirit. But Yahweh is going to weigh that spirit. But if you commit your works unto Yahweh, your thoughts shall be established. And when you're committing your works to Yahweh and you're blinded by a matter and you're focusing your mind back towards Yahweh, you say, wait a minute, hold on. Is this giving glory to the Most High? Or is this causing me to bring shame to his name or to blaspheme his name? And that might be the thing to wake you up. You know, I don't need to be doing this. I don't need to be doing this business. I don't need to be doing this act. I don't need to be going this place, or whatever the case may be.
You don't lean unto your own understanding.
Proverbs 16, verse 4. Yahweh has made all things for himself, yea, even the wicked for the day of evil. Everyone that is proud in heart is an abomination to Yahweh. Though hand join in hand, he shall not be unpunished. By mercy and truth, iniquity is purged, and by the fear of Yahweh, men depart from evil. When a man's ways please Yahweh, he makes even his enemies to be at peace with him. Better is the little with righteousness than great revenues without right. A man's heart devises his way, but Yahweh directs his steps. A divine sentence is in the lips of the king. His mouth transgress not in judgment.
All right, so in verse 9, it says, a man's heart deviseth his way, but Yahweh directs his steps. So in your heart, you're going to choose and decide what you want to do, and you can try to force what's in your heart, but a wise man will allow Yahweh to direct the steps. You show Yahweh what it is that you want in your life, or where you want to go, or where you want to be, or who you want to be with. And you show him in your heart. But Yahweh is going to direct your steps. Just because you want something in your heart don't mean that's what is going to be best for you. Because it says the heart of man is exceedingly wicked. Who could know it? And that goes right back to what Elder said, leaning unto your own understanding.
No, he's not yet leaning unto his understanding.
Verse 16, verse 11. A just weight and balance are Yahweh's. All the weights of the bag are his work. It is an abomination to kings to commit wickedness, for the throne is established by righteousness. Righteous lips are the delight of kings, and they love him that speaks right. The wrath of a king is as messengers of death, but a wise man will pacify it. In the light of the king's countenance is life, and his favor is as a cloud of the latter rain. How much better is it to get wisdom than gold, and to get understanding rather to be chosen than silver? The highway of the upright is to depart from evil. He that keeps his way preserves his soul. Pride goes before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall. Better it is to be of a humble spirit with the lowly than to divide the spoil with the proud. He that handles a matter wisely shall find good, and whoso trusts in Yahweh, happy is he. All right.
So he that handles a matter wisely shall find good, and whoso trusts in Yahweh, happy is he. And this is how you can rejoice in Yah. When no matter what the matter is that you've been presented with, you're considering Yah. You're considering his commandments. You're considering his righteous rules and saying, I trust this. I trust. This is the matter. My mind, my own understanding is telling me, I should do this or I should do that. But at the end of the day, I'm going to trust Yahweh. I'm going to trust his commandments. I'm going to trust his prophets, his servants, all those that have been through the same situation and how Yahweh dealt with it. And I'm going to trust that. Happy is he, because I understand that Yah don't change. We change, but Yah don't change. Go ahead.
Verse
21.
The wise in heart shall be called prudent, and the sweetness of the lips increases learning. Understanding is a wellspring of life unto him that has it, but the instruction of fools is folly. The heart of the wise teaches his mouth, and adds learning to his lips. Pleasant words are as a honeycomb, sweet to the soul and health to the bones. There is a way that seems right unto a man, but the end thereof are the ways of death. He that labors for himself, for his mouth craves it of him. An evil man digs up evil, and in his lips there is a burning fire. A froward man sows strife, and a whisperer separates chief friends.
See, a froward man sows strife. And a whisperer separates chief friends. And that, let's look up that word for whisperer. What is that word? I think that's like a gossiper or something like that, isn't it?
Might be a gospel. Backbiter.
H5372. Nergon, From an unused root meaning to roll pieces, a slanderer, talebearer, whisperer.
All right. A whisperer, talebearer, slanderer, things of that nature. And it doesn't always necessarily mean that that person is trying to be a slanderer or a talebearer or whatever the case may be. But this is why Yah gave us order and how to deal with one another. When you have a problem, Yahshua gave an example. When you have a problem with somebody, you go to that individual and you talk to them. If they don't want to hear it, then you bring somebody else with you. That they don't want to hear both of y'all, then y'all bring it before the assembly. And when you deal with it that way, there's no separating chief friends or doing this or doing that. It's being dealt with in the proper manner. Plus, it's humbling in your way as well to check that maybe you are wrong. But pride and haughtiness and strife for whatever reason will cause us not to do that. And sometimes we have to watch ourselves, where we want to make sure we're not the type of individual where people can't talk to you. Because you are, every time you get rebuked, you harden your neck. If you're a type of person that will harden your neck, then eventually it says how to deal with people in that manner as well. It says to deal with people that are heretic. After 2 or 3 admonitions, you leave it alone.
Proverbs chapter 16 and verse 29. A violent man entices his neighbor and leads him into the way that is not good. He shuts his eyes to devise froward things. Moving his lips, he brings evil to pass. The hoary head is a crown of glory, if it be found in the way of righteousness. He that is slow to anger is better than the mighty, and he that rules his spirit than he that takes a city. The lot is cast into the lap, but the whole disposing thereof is of Yahweh.
All right. Let's go to Matthew chapter 6. Matthew chapter 6. And let's start this at verse 19.
Matthew chapter 6 and verse 19. Lay not up for yourselves treasures upon earth, where moth and rust does corrupt, and where thieves break through and steal. But lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust does corrupt, and where thieves do not break through nor steal. For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also.
And that also, when you try to focus all your attention on collecting earthly things or focusing on material things, there's always something that's going to be a threat to it. Somebody trying to break in and steal, something trying to deteriorate, and all these things cause stress in our lives because we want to hoard these material things. We're afraid to lose these material things. But when you focus on trying to store up your treasures in heaven, it'll leave you peace because you know once you do those deeds and you do those things are going to be brought into remembrance when it's your time to go before the Father. Those things won't be taken away.
Verse 21, for where your treasure is, there will your heart be also.
Brother, I just wanted to add to that.
Go ahead.
Verse.
Get the phone, Elder, so I can hear you.
Just want to add to that verse. That kind of goes along with what we was talking about before, about being overcomers. That verse right there is also, I would say, coupled when it says to the verse, Yahweh give you desires of your heart. And basically it says in Psalms 37, verse 4, delight thyself also in Yahweh, and he shall give you desires of your heart. You know, and I'm bringing that verse with this verse because commandments, you desire Yahweh. Desire what he has to say. You desire what he has for your life, for your salvation. So that means you're accompanying yourself with the Father, with the Word, and you're trying to be that triple cord to walk with him, you know? And if you're not, then you desire the things of this world.
Right.
And you're not keeping his commandments. So how can you say you love him if you're not keeping the commandments? You're even trying to keep the commandments. So these verses do, how you say, bind themselves together when as a whole, when we try to walk the path that Yahweh set before us. So I wanted to bring that point up right there because a lot of people, you know, and ourselves back in the day, we didn't understand when we talk about put our treasures in heaven. You know what I mean? Because if we saying that doing our works, we try to follow Yahweh, as you said earlier, you know, you got brothers and sisters out there that starving. You know, we out there, you got money in your pocket, you know, you give them money so they can get something to eat. You know, now obviously you see him going out of the crack house, you won't give them no money.
Right,
you
that's
can buy
obvious.
food for them yourself and then feed them yourself, you know, but you're not going to press judgment on that person because that person's in a bad way, you know. And if they do take this money and doing something wrong, it's not on you because you trying to put all your works for Yahweh, you know, submitting all your works for Yahweh. If they're abusing that gift that Yahweh put in your heart to be a giver, you understand? Yahweh gonna deal with them. You're doing your job, you know. But that doesn't state when people putting their money in different churches and stuff like that, you don't know where it's going. They got supposed to have their books open. You're supposed to know where you're going. And then tithing, we just learned, is every 3 years. You know, and it's supposed to go to Levite priests, to the homeless, to the fatherless, to the widows and so forth, to take care of the people who need that help. Because Yahweh said the poor is always going to be among us. We have to learn how to not clean our fields to take care of them. You know, but that's why I wanted to bring this verse up, because it expounds more deeply than just what's written on the page. If we do our jobs and we do our works, Yahweh notices that. He sees that. And we don't try to bring those things to light, Yahweh will bring those things to light. Right. See, this is what, you know, a lot of people make a mistake in. We want everybody to see the things that we do. If we do those things, then we already have our reward. Because then we're trying to show the world what we're doing. Right. Instead of what Yahweh allowed us to do for his kingdom, for his children. Right. So, you know, dealing with this verse, you know, we're looking at where if we do wrong, then maybe, as we know, we burn our works up just about every day. But if we continue to do Yahweh's will, then maybe when it's time for us to be judged, when it's time for us, when you go before the Father and Yeshua is our mouthpiece, maybe we do have a half a cent or a cent left in the treasures in heaven, where he said, I know he did all those different things, but yet all those things are covered. And he still has something left. And then he tells us, you know, well done, my good and faithful servant, enter into your rest. You know, so Yahweh has a plan for our life. Right.
And to also elaborate on that, it doesn't mean that you can't have nice things or you know, have certain things that you know on earth that are material that you like, but you're not to treasure that. You're not to make that like you know the basis of your life. You know, you want to treasure those things that you can store for you in heaven where they won't be destroyed, you know, by moth and rust and things of that nature. And the only way that you can do that is not putting the primary importance on the material things that are on this earth. That's the only way you can do that, because you're going to have to make that decision. The Most High is going to, especially when you're new coming into the Word, he's going to make you make that distinction between choosing the world and choosing him. So you're not going to be able to go after all these riches and get all these things and amass these things and still store all these treasures in heaven without prioritizing heaven first and prioritizing the righteousness of this word first.
Matthew chapter 6 and verse 22. The light of the body is the eye. If therefore your eye be single, your whole body shall be full of light. But if your eye be evil, your whole body shall be full of darkness. If therefore the light that is in you be darkness, how great is that darkness?
And to delve a little deeper in that, that also deals with the pineal. the spiritual antenna that we have, the pineal gland, which is also the same word they use for the face of Yah. When that is dark, when that's darkened out by, your diet and the wickedness that you do in your life, your whole body is full of darkness. Your whole deeds are going to be manifested by that. But when you learn to open that, what they call that third eye, that pineal, when you open that up, now all of a sudden your whole body can receive light. Now your whole body is, the decisions that you're making within your body is for the light, is for righteousness. Go ahead.
Verse 24. No man can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or else he will hold to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve Yahweh and Mammon.
All right, you can't serve both. Doesn't mean you can't, it says make you friends with the mammon, but you can't serve that. You got to make a choice who is going to be the master, just like the head of the household. You can't have 50-50 in a household. That's like having a corporation. You can't have a corporation with 50-50 stake, because eventually there's going to have to be a final decision made. Who's going to make that decision? So doesn't mean that one person does everything, but you have to have one master. That one master has to be the Mashiach, has to be this word. That has to be the controlling factor, because if you have a 50-50 situation, then you're just going to have disagreement. Then you're going to have a divided house. It's going to fall.
Verse 25. Therefore I say unto you, take no thought for your life, what you shall eat, or what you shall drink, nor yet for your body what you shall put on. Is not the life more than meat, and the body more than raiment? Behold the fowls of the air, for they sow not, neither do they reap, nor gather into barns, yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not much better than they? Which of you, by taking thought, can add 1 cubit to his stature? And why take you thought for raiment? Consider the lilies of the field, how they grow. They toil not, neither do they spin.
So this is also will allow you to have peace in your life and joy in your life, because you ask yourself, many of us that had carnal fathers and carnal mothers, they made sure we had clothes on our back. They made sure that we ate. They made sure that we were safe. They took care of those basic needs. And many of our parents had to work very hard to provide that for us. So if our carnal parents did that, what we think the Most High going to do less than that, than our carnal parents did? Of course he's going to take care of those things, unless we purposely do something to put ourselves, just like, for example, if your parents provided food and all that, but you decide you're going to run away and go out there, you ain't going to have nothing. Or you're going to have to find it for yourself.
It says, take no thought.
Mm-hmm.
And also a verse again, taking thought means not being anxious.
Mm-hmm.
So, when they said take no thought, that means not to think about it. No, don't do that thing.
Yeah.
Don't be anxious.
Right.
To make a move.
Don't worry about those
Worry.
things. Right. Yeah, of course, if you don't think about those things, then you don't remember to buy food to feed your family, or don't remember to buy clothes or coat when winter is coming. Of course.
But they said it's like 4 or 5 times through these verses right here.
Mm-hmm.
Verse 27. Which of you by taking thought can add 1 cubit to his stature? And why take you thought for raiment? Consider the lilies of the field, how they grow. They toil not, neither do they spin. And yet I say unto you, that even Solomon, in all his glory, was not arrayed like one of these. Wherefore, if Yahweh so clothe the grass of the field, which is today and tomorrow is cast into the oven, shall he not much more clothe you, O you of little faith? Therefore take no thought, saying, what shall we eat, or what shall we drink, or wherewithal shall we be clothed? For after all these things do the Gentiles seek. For your heavenly Father knows that you have need of all these things.
So that's what the nations do, because the nations don't know the Father like us. They don't know the character of the Most High. So they think that, they in their hearts know that this idol they made is not real, but they want to believe that. So they believe that. But ultimately, at the end of the day, they know that little statue right there not going to save them from nothing. So they worry and they're concerned and they toil about these things. Whereas the spiritual man is supposed to say, listen, I know if I do what I'm supposed to do, let me control what I can control. Let me work so that I can eat, because it says if a man don't work, he shouldn't eat. So let me do what I should do. But let me not worry about these things that I can't control. Let me worry about the things I can control, like my own actions, my own words, my own deeds, my own works. And all these things are going to be presented for me. Am I not important to the Most High? Do I not have a job? He said, a servant. Our nation is a servant to the Most High. So if you have a servant and he work for you, you got to make sure he have everything he need. Don't these evil corporations do that? They make sure we have what we need. They make sure we get a lunch hour and we have protection and security and gates and all this stuff so we can do what we need to do. So how low do we have to think of the Most High if we have to worry about all these things? And ultimately, when we look at it, for us in our society, many of us, we're not really worrying about whether we're going to have clothes or whether we're going to eat. We're worried about material things. Am I going to lose this nice car that I have? Am I going to lose these nice clothes that I have? Am I going to have to give this up? Am I have to give that up? And it's human nature. That's human nature. But when that happens, the thinking man is supposed to check himself. The spiritual man is supposed to check themselves.
Matthew chapter 6 and verse 33. But seek you first the kingdom of Elohim and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you.
And that right there is a verse that should always be highlighted. That is the precept number one that you have to understand coming into this word. Seek you the kingdom first. Learn how to become a citizen of the kingdom. Learn how to become a citizen of the kingdom, and everything else is going to be added onto you. If not in this life, which many of it will be added in this life, but in the life to come, it is definitely going to be added unto you. And in doing that, that should allow you, no matter what you're going through, to know exactly where you need to go, what you need to do, and still rejoice in Yah, whether you're doing it with a little or doing it with a lot. And those of us that are a little bit older and been doing this a little bit longer, we've seen the cycles in this word where you have everything, then you lose some things, and you gain it back, then you lose. And a lot of the loss we take is because of our own actions. But there's a lesson in that when we lose something. He's allowing us to, you think the Most High going to allow you to have the greatest thing in your life that you're ever going to get so you can lose it and learn a lesson so you can gain something else that's less than that? He's not going to do that. And nobody does that. Nobody give you a Lamborghini to go out there and try to learn how to drive. They're going to give you a car that you can afford to make mistakes. Then when you get it together, if you learn, if you are humble enough and you put forth the effort, then he'll set you up so that you can have what he really has in store for you, which is the next kingdom. So that's what this is for, to learn all those different things and get it right.
Verse 34. Take therefore no thought for the morrow shall take thought for the things of itself. Sufficient unto today is the evil thereof.
There's enough wickedness in your life and enough sin in your own life and your own actions today to worry about than to be thinking about tomorrow. What if this happens or what if that happens? Again, the elder validated that. It doesn't say that you don't consider those things, that you don't plan and make sure that you have a plan. But don't worry about those things because you can't control that, especially if you have to depend on something else or somebody else to do something. All you can focus on is what you have control of. And if you put that focus and attention into laying up your treasures for the Most High and putting your trust in the Most High, he gets glory when you do that, because then in the latter end, when he takes care of you, you turn around and you give all the glory to Yah and you rejoice in Yah for taking care of you when you didn't deserve it. So that's all we're going to do today. Any last questions or comments before we close in prayer? All right. Let's go ahead and end in prayer. All brothers remove their head coverings. All sisters pray with their heads covered. And we face the east towards Jerusalem. Our Father, Yahweh, Elohim, the Allah of Abraham, Yashak, and Yaakov. Covenant Father, Elohim of Yahshua, we thank you, Yahweh, once again for allowing us an opportunity, Yahweh, to come before you on this day, on your Shabbat, on your holy day, your Father's Day, Yahweh, that you allow us to come together and have a desire to gather according to your commandments, Yahweh, with our own free will to show you that sign that we are your children and you are our Father. Yahweh, we ask, Yahweh, that you allow this word that you allow for us to go through, that your spirit of understanding reside with us, Yahweh, on this day, so that we can ponder on our own actions and the things that we need to change throughout the week, Yahweh, not only on your holy days and on your Shabbats and your new months and your Moadim, Yahweh, but on our everyday walk. And not only in front of other servants, Yahweh, but your stranger and also your child that is blind, Yahweh, that's walking in the street not having knowledge of himself, Yahweh. We ask that you allow that spirit to dwell with us, not for us to gain any kind of name or fame or to receive more blessing in our lives, Yahweh, but to fulfill your prophecies, Yahweh. For it's not about the individual, Yahweh. We understand it's about the nation. You look at us as a nation and not as individuals, even though we are individual sons and daughters unto you, Yahweh. So we thank you for that mercy, Yahweh. We ask that you please forgive us of our sins and trespasses, Yahweh, and do not credit those sins to willful disobedience or blasphemy of the Holy Spirit, but credit it as ignorance, as children growing up in a Babylonian way of things that are trying to find their way back, Yahweh. And we invite you to gently in your not in your store displeasure, but in your tender love and mercy, place us back in the right way and give us the eyes and enough light to see the narrow path so that we can consciously head down that narrow path, Yahweh, and lead others, Yahweh, that are also looking to go down that light, Yahweh. So, Yahweh, as we begin to close this class and we get ready to eat this food, Yahweh, we eat this in remembrance of you, Yahweh, and we eat this in acknowledgement of the sacrifice that your Son made, Yahweh, and we thank you for allowing us to be part of that body, Yahweh, and that adopted nation that you chose out of all the nations of the earth. Yahweh, all these things we humbly come before you, and we thank and we pray, again, not only for us, but all your children across the four corners of the earth and all the strangers that are going to be adjoined unto you, Yahweh, through your children, Yahshua, Yahweh. We pray for them as well. Yah, all these things we thank and pray through your holy, humble, anointed Son, Yahshua HaMashiach, in which all praise, majesty, might, and dominion resides here and forevermore. Through you, your majesty, in the name of Yahshua HaMashiach, we thank and pray.